average Russian person feels that like being against Nazis is just kind of part of the culture nowadays there.
Yes, but Nazism was dead for 80 years, basically.
So
And we can, to celebrate the past, it's something what Russians like to do, which doesn't assure anything possible for the present and for the future. That's a very important point. It's true that Russia played a central role in the defeat of Nazi Germany. It's true that the West tends to undermine the great role of Russia in that, of the Soviet Union. It's true that after the war, the Soviet Union was was the most helpful to create the state of Israel. It's also true that right after the state of Israel was created, there was a tremendous anti-Semitic campaign in the Soviet Union, which turned to be a slowly anti-Israeli campaign. It's also true that the Soviet Union was the worst enemy of Israel, well, since mid-60s and until the Soviet Union was dismantled. So we're talking about different facts which we should face. There's nothing to admire about in Russia today. Although it's not as evil as many people in the West believe.
so
It's different. It's different. We can talk about it in general terms. I come from the very anti-communist and anti-Soviet background. I carry it on. I think communism is absolutely evil ideology and evil
it is
practice.
100%.
Today's Russia is different, although not ideal. Nothing to be excited about. No, no, nothing to be excited about. But it's different. It's not the same. And I really believe that Russia doesn't threaten the West for one simple reason: the Soviet Union promoted certain ideology.
Mhm.
Soviet Union wanted to conquer the world with certain ideology.
Right,
Yes, it was a superpower with ideology, and they used to spread the ideology all over.
right.
Today, you have radical Islamists who do also that job. Like
Yeah,
Muslim Brotherhood, they spread their ideology. Now, today's Russia doesn't have any ideology which differs from European America, etc. They're secondary. They're really a secondary product of modern culture. There's nothing in Russia which really differs them from the West. Now they started talking about some traditional values. It's nice, but the only thing where they say about traditional values is that men should marry a woman. I'm fine with that, and
right,
I really can praise Putin for this, but it's not a real ideology. Come on,
right,
this is something necessary, but you don't make ideology out of the fact that you mm, breathe, you drink, you go along with nature. You know,
mhm,
it's really a shame and a pity that Russia could not promote at least these positive things in the West, because their policies were very inconsistent, and they were not expressing themselves well. And the war in Ukraine, it was a mistake from the very beginning on their side. Also, Russian official position uh, after the massacre in Israel was disgusting. It was disgusting. I mean, on the one hand, I need to say that they had nothing to do with this. That there's no support for Hamas in Russia. No,
right.
no way, because they have the same Islamists. And actually, Russians killed Hamas and Islamists more than Israel did. I want to remind you that Russians were bombing out everything possible in Syria since 10 years
Right.
ago, for a few years. And there
Mm-hmm.
were, I don't know how many, nobody knows how many people were killed there. Uh, 500,000, 800,000. I don't
A lot.
know how many of them were killed by Russian pilots, but the fact is just a funny fact. There was so-called Palestine refugee camp Yarmouk near Damascus, headed by Hamas officially. Foreign Hamas was sitting there. Uh, the
Mm.
headquarters of Hamas were in Yarmouk,
Oh wow.
and there were
Refugees.
145,000 residents there. And after Russians showed some presence there, how many people remained in Yarmouk?
Mm.
5,000 out of 145, 5,000 people. Now, I suppose that many of others fled. I'm not saying that all of them were killed, but
A lot.
etc. Nevertheless, Russian response and Russian propaganda after the massacre a year and 3 months ago, it was disgusting. We will never, forgive this. Mm, they were not supporting Hamas. On the other hand, they were so happy that strong Israeli army showed such poor performance that American ally is getting hit. And of course, they were very
Right.
happy that world's
Right.
attention moved to the Middle East from Ukrainian-Russian conflict. And
Yeah,
it's not
definitely.
no, it was not human behavior. Again, I want to emphasize that they do not support Hamas. Did not never supported Hamas. They have an agreement with Hamas that they do not um, put them on the terrorist list, and for an
Mm.
exchange that Hamas does not commit acts of terror on the territory of Russia or against the
Right.
Russian objects. This is the deal about 23 years ago, because Hamas was involved in the war in Chechnya. Hamas
Okay.
militants did enter Russia and fought against Russia. So again, it's complicated. But what I want to say, that on one hand, Russia, of course, is not as evil as some people in the West present it. On the other hand, there's nothing to be excited about, because some people feel excitement about it. Very few people know Russia as well as
Uh-huh.
I do from within. I worked there, including Russian television, not so
Right.
long ago. And we can talk about it if people are interested, but we should see overall picture, and I'm trying to present you overall picture instead of talking about certain details. I'm
I
trying to
understand.
bring in to our talk what is really important, what counts for us.
So I bring that up um, about Russia in general as kind of a segue. I was on the X, formerly Twitter platform,
Mm.
um, and I was following Alexander Dugin, and
Oh,
he posted a tweet, and I know that you're somewhat familiar with him, but this is a recent tweet that's causing some controversy, and I'm just going to put it up on the screen here for that. So, total support for heroic Candace Owens. Macron is a pervert. His wife is trans woman and trans monkey. He has to repent. So, and then there's somebody replying. I don't know who that person is, but they have a blue check. It says, "So, are you anti-Semitic or not?" Um, I don't think he really replies to comments and things like that. But do people in Russia know of Candace Owens? most recent, you know, personification as kind of a extreme Jew hater, or are they kind of more like she's just thinking that she's still in the mainstream group of conservatives, and we're just referencing her as a general right winger? Or what do you make of that and the Russian view, I guess, of somebody like Candace Owens that's out there now?
Let's put talking about Russia, we need to add that up until now, up until recently, Russia and Israel had great cooperation in Syria. And since Russia came to Syria, Israel started bombing the Iranian objects there more extensively than before. So, I mean, the twofold relationship between Russia and Israel, uh, and on one hand, and then I need to remind that Russia always always votes against Israel in the United Nations. Uh, so I'm trying to bring you the overall picture, right? We have nice cooperation in Syria. We have direct flights every day, and Russia is free for any Judaic studies, anything you want to have evening in the memory of Rabbi Kahan, and nobody will be upset about it. In Moscow, even today, talking about Moscow today.
Okay.
On the other hand, they vote against us. No, no, no. You touched a very interesting personality, Alexander Dugin. I know him very well for many years. People change. He comes from very anti-Semitic background, and he turned to be nice, enlightened, and sympathetic conservative for like a decade, and then he went back to his wild, inferior behavior of marginal extremist and very, very idiotic figure. Let's elaborate on that. Alexander Dugin
Yes.
is a very talented man. He speaks like probably 7 languages. He studied philosophy. He promotes a kind of greater Eurasian theory, which is not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, absolutely non-realistic. He changes his mind for different subjects for what is good for him. He tries to get some legitimacy in the West now within the most radical, also anti-Semitic circles. He looks for margin. He finds all kind of strange personalities, and well, the you mentioned someone who nobody knows about her in Russia. Nobody knows about in Israel. I mean, we're talking about some marginal figures. Now, Dugin
Right.
also said not so long ago that Jerusalem will be Russian or Jerusalem will not exist at all. I mean, come on, you don't discuss if, somebody who makes such low, stupid statements. I simply don't talk to him for over a decade. I used to know him very well. Tomorrow he will change it. He recently wrote something about Israel. Israel shows heroic biblical strength, and he's half. I would say he's 70% Jew hater and 30% Jew admirer, Israel admirer.
Okay.
That's Dugin. But I don't think we should focus on him. He
No,
doesn't
I didn't
play
want
any
to. I just had
important.
that one point.
No, no, no. He doesn't play any important role in Russia. People don't realize it, and he is not Putin's advisor. Putin never met him in person. Just to understand it, they
Oh, okay.
use him. He's talented. He gave an excellent interview to Tucker Carlson. When he comes back to his mind, he can be very effective, very, very good. But
Hmm.
then he acts like a clown. He is absolutely inferior, animalistic, hysterical, um, personality who makes the statements which will be a shame for 8 years old boy. Childish, stupid, uh, tries to play this game with all the knowledge. By the way, his knowledge, he knows how to quote others. His own creativity is at the animalistic level, really. I mean, it's not something to discuss. Unfortunately, some people in the West make out of him a great thinker. No, no. He knows a lot. He knows some very important writings of certain Western thinkers. Unfortunately, today, very few people in the West or the United States know, for example, who was Rene Guénon, who was Julius Evola. And even Leo Strauss is not so much read and appreciated. Dugin knows all of them. But when
Okay.
it comes to his outburst from his mouth or from his mind, then we see that it's kind of, I'm sorry, it's more defecation than speech.
Then
It goes this
defecation,
way.
then
It
talking.
just smells bad, and
I
it mocks.
understand.
Dugin makes me throw up. Talented person from time to. By the way, funny story of talking. He had a debate with Bernard Henri Levy, Jewish liberal. And basically, Bernard Henri Levy destroyed him in this debate. There was one point where Dugin was better than Bernard Henri Levy was the Jewish point. All of a sudden, Dugin made statements about Jews connected with the tradition, with God, with the Bible, while Bernard Henri Levy tried to portray the Jews as the champions of gay parades, etc., etc., etc. Just as
He
an
was.
anecdote for you. But as I told you, Dugin is 70% Jew hater, 30% Israel admirer, and he's 20% very talented, eloquent, brilliant man, and 80%, unfortunately, childish, stupid, funny, just to make fun of him mostly.
Oh, okay.
But it's
Well,
good that you
thank
raised
you.
this issue. Yes,
Um, on that, we had a question in the chat. The why do you feel that Russia seems to go back and forth on the Israel issue? Pro like you were just describing. Why do you think that is that way?
there's no back and forth. We have common interests in Syria, and
Okay.
Russians kept their word, kept their promise. Israel kept also the promise. Whenever we hit targets in Syria, we warned Russians a few minutes before that there would be no Russian at the place. And Russians never informed Iranians about, or Syrians about our intention to hit this or that target. Very important. I mean, it's a very delicate issue, understand? We're talking about thousands of events like this.
Right. Right.
Thousands. Now, but it was not because somebody. Unfortunately, people want to know: do you love me or you don't love me? Do you love me or you don't love me? We're not talking about love. We're talking about interests. Russia
Right.
had an
Right.
interest to be present in Syria and being in peace with Israel, because Israeli army and Israeli air force is much stronger than Russian air force. Israeli army is much more effective than the Russian army, quality wise, I'm talking about. Not
Okay.
quantity, but quality. So they
Right.
had this interest on one. On the other hand, now Russians need weapons from Iran. They get a lot of weapons from Iran. So, on the other hand, they have a conflict with the West and with the United States. So they act accordingly. I mean, it's
Do you
not
think?
that
Go ahead. I was going
Putin
to say.
personally, you can say, you reckon Putin personally is definitely a friend of Israel and sympathizer of Israel, no doubt about it. But when he needs to be anti-American for the purpose of his war, when he needs to get arms supplies, drone supplies from Iran, he will behave as